This is Radio 97. We are talking law with our resident lawyer, Despina Priala of boutique law firm Priala Legal in Runaway Bay. She's with us each and every Thursday morning. She brings all of the textbooks in with her. You should see the stack of them here. She brings her legal expertise. She provides some general advice on the latest hot topics. She has experience that spans more than 25 years in the area of property and commercial law. She also prepares wills as part of estate planning and litigation. With us once again. Hi, Despina.
Hi, Wayne. Hi, Brooke.
Good morning, Despina. Welcome back. Starting off today's show with a big cheerio to some listeners that have been with us over the past couple of years. I'm assuming Tanya, Barbara, Myrna and Sue.
Yes, no, I'd like to give a big shout out and always love the support. So when we put the show up on the community Facebook page, and I would encourage all the listeners to join the Breakfast Radio 97 Facebook page, then I get all these, thumbs up or well done or, love the segment. And I really love that support. And please keep bringing it on because like we're going to talk about today, Sue reached out to me last week and we had a chat on the phone. And she wanted some help with a question that she had, which led to another discussion, a really interesting conversation that we're going to talk about today, all about estate planning, which is a lot of fun. And then it occurred to me when I was talking to Sue, we actually haven't talked about this topic much on the show, or maybe not at all. So it's going to be an interesting one. So hopefully everyone will keep tuning in because this is a really good one.
Yep. And estate planning, of course, as I mentioned there, this is right up your alley, isn't it?
I've been doing estate planning since the 90s. So,
wow.
The people stay the same, yes, but it's evolved over the years. And so I really enjoy it, really enjoyed and helping people, again, results outcome driven. So it's a very big deal to go see a lawyer to finally put an estate plan to bed. And a lot of people don't have their wills and they don't have powers of attorney. They have nothing in place and they might have built up all this wealth over the years. And it's a bit scary to think that you haven't got a will and you pass away and what's going to happen. And I've heard people say over the years, well, the government's going to get it. Well, no, we've talked on the show before about what happens when you pass away without a will. And it's not great and it doesn't look pretty. It doesn't mean the government gets it all, but it does mean big headaches and big mess, potential chaos for your family members. So why would you want that to happen?
Yeah, exactly. And Sue, thank you so much for writing in and giving us a call as well and talking to Despina because, like you said, it's so strange. We've been doing the show for 3 years now since you started with.
Since first started, yep.
Yeah, Wayno and Jess. And over the couple of years, we actually haven't covered this particular topic. And within that conversation with Sue, the TDT question popped up. So what is a TDT in reference to wills?
Okay, so it's a big one, TDT. So a TDT, what does it stand for? It stands for a testamentary discretionary trust in the context of your will. And that's what it is. So we're going to talk about what it means, what it provides, benefits of creating this in your will. So a testamentary discretionary trust at its core is a trust, but it only takes effect when you pass away, and it immediately takes effect from the date of death if you've built it into your will. So it is in the will, it's not in a separate trust document, and it'll only come into effect when you pass away. And it's been around for years. It's one of those, I suppose, estate planning tools that have been around for decades for people to use. But we want to talk about to remind people that it's out there and it's available and what it provides. So essentially, you're setting up a trust in the will for certain beneficiaries that you decide may not or should not receive your assets directly, right? So whether it's a house, cash, shares, other investments, you need to look at your family and decide, in essence, do you have any vulnerable beneficiaries that really should have their inheritance, something you want to give them, set aside and put in a trust, as opposed to I'm going to give it to them direct. Now, it's not for everybody, so it needs to be properly assessed, weighed up, looked at individually based on your own wealth and assets and family situation. Okay, but essentially, if you've got vulnerable beneficiaries, it can work really well. And what do we mean by vulnerable beneficiaries? So here are some examples. So we're talking about beneficiaries, say adult children, right? Who might be, really bad with money, right? So they don't manage money very well, and they might blow it all at the pokies. So maybe they're a gambler, or maybe they're an alcoholic, or maybe they're getting chased by creditors. Maybe they're in a position, they're directors of companies. So maybe they're in a high risk position where they could be sued, right? So maybe it's not the best idea that they receive an asset directly in their name, but it's held in a trust. Okay. Or maybe you've got an adult child who's disabled. So clearly in that case, that person can't manage any assets whatsoever, and it should be managed in a trust for them. Right. So when you set up these trusts, you can have one trust for multiple children, or you can have one trust or multiple trusts individually for each particular beneficiary. So you set the terms, you say what happens in the trust, whether the beneficiaries receive income or capital, you decide when it ends. So if you have young children, maybe you decide it's only till they reach 18, 21, 25, 30 years, depending on the amount of wealth involved. Or maybe in the case of a disabled child, it just stays for life. So these can be really, really helpful and beneficial for those types of beneficiaries. You've got other beneficiaries. Say, for example, you've got an adult child that might be going through a property settlement, so a divorce. So if that's on the cards, if you set it up in a trust, whilst it doesn't completely prevent it from being part of a property settlement, it can help. Where you've got an inheritance that's sitting in a trust somewhere, that it is protected to a certain degree. So there are lots of benefits. There are tax benefits. If you've set up a trust where you've got beneficiaries under the age of 18, that can receive a certain amount up to the threshold that's tax-free, each year being a beneficiary in this trust. So it's really, there's a lot to it, and there's a lot more than what I'm talking about today. But I wanted to raise it to say, look, it could be something that's useful for your family, and it's something that can be set up in your will by someone who knows how to do it. Now, when I was talking to Sue, the conversation went elsewhere as well, because she was wanting to talk about, claims against people's estate and how do you prevent claims. We've talked about this on the show before, and having trusts in the wills doesn't completely prevent that. And we talked about that a little bit with Sue, and she'll remember when she's listening today. But she was talking about, what if you transfer assets from the person out to someone else? Say a mother transfers her property to her daughter, for example. Then when the mother passes away, if there's no assets, can the person make a claim? And I said, person can make a claim to try and get something, but if there's no assets in the kitty, right, because they've been transferred already, then the claim's not really going to go anywhere, is there? But we don't want to do these things lightly. There's a lot involved in just transferring assets from, parent to child. There's stamp duty considerations. There's protection for the adult. There's agreements that have to be put in place, independent advice. There's a whole range of issues. But definitely something you can start to talk and think about with your family. Maybe these are things that you want to take on board, maybe not. But I think it's something for everyone to consider as part of the estate planning, what we're talking about today with trusts.
And as you say, there are many benefits to something like this, but I guess there are also downsides as well. There are costs involved too.
Exactly. So setting up a testamentary discretionary trust is not cheap. And nor should it be, because you will have a long will, particularly if you have, say, 3 vulnerable beneficiaries who all happen to be your adult children. You might set up 3 individual trusts for each one, because each child's different. So you might have each trust tailored in a particular way for that child's benefit. One might be for their life, one might be when they reach a certain age, and you set the terms about what type of money or access to income or capital they may have. So you can set it up to tailor things, but yes, you're going to spend that money, but it definitely may be worthwhile for you to do so, to preserve that generational wealth, particularly, in the family, to try and preserve that as much as possible. This is one way to do it. But definitely if you're considering that, you need to see someone with estate planning expertise, so they can provide that guidance and support through your estate planning and do what's right for you.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for that information, Despina. And Sue, we hope you heard it. And any further questions from anyone listening, and you can get in touch with Despina directly through Priala Legal. Coming up next, a horror story played out over the weekend for a buyer on the Gold Coast. And Despina has all the details coming up. Stay tuned to Radio 97.
Are you confused about legal jargon? Do you need legal advice but don't know where to turn? Tune in to Talking Law with Despina Priala every Thursday morning at 8:30 on Radio 97. Despina, a leading lawyer with over 20 years of experience, will demystify the law and provide practical advice to help you navigate legal issues. Whether it's a family matter, a property dispute, or a business concern, Talking Law has got you covered. Don't miss out on this valuable resource. Tune in to Talking Law with Despina Priala every Thursday morning at 8:30 on Radio 97.